We have also circulated Google form, and the jury for this session, CA Manmeet Singh Mehta, CA Kartikeya Shenoy, and CA Sumit Bihani. So every research paper will be of 10 minutes and jury can ask the question, and the session will be live on Zoom. I request all the 3 research finalists to please come on the stage for felicitation. CA Anmol Lohia, Pune Branch Managing Committee Member CA Rishikesh Badwe will felicitate CA Anmol Lohia. Please give a big round of applause. Shubhradeep Nandi, please come forward for felicitation. I request CA Vidyavati Vangi, Managing Committee Member of Latur Branch, to felicitate. CA Ashutosh Shahi. I request Treasurer of Pune Branch, CA Neha Fadke, to felicitate CA Ashutosh. Someone's spect is here, so you can collect it from the desk. Now I request CA Anmol Lohia to start his presentation.
Check. Very good evening to all of you. Very good evening to all of you. Also, good evening to India, because it's being streamlined on YouTube. My name is CA Anmol Lohia, and today's research paper is on how AI is really and truly transforming the field of finance. Can you tell me in which year was drone invented? Some of you might say 2004. But do you know when it was imagined? It was imagined back in 1982 in a Star Wars movie. This tells us that we need to imagine first, and then we need to build it. That's how I have come up with AI Accountant. I had my own sci-fi moment. A few years back, I was doing my articleship, was in Goa, and we were doing SOPs for a company. I was interviewing their finance team, and incidentally, one of the person there, the accountant, was a young guy. We got along well. He even gave me his bike to go around Goa. I asked him one day that how frustrating it is. And then he started his rant. He told me that a huge pile of invoices is given to him every month, and his entire job for the entire month is to just go and account that. And after 15 minutes of more ranting, he told me that Anmol, एक दिन देख लेना, invoices को एक folder में डालेंगे और वो ERP में account हो जाएगा. We will put invoices in one folder, and the accounting will automatically happen in an ERP. Your ERP could be anything. Right? So, presenting to you AI Accountant. Let's go ahead, open some Python. I've created a small user interface. Let it open. I'm going to click on Start Workflow. It's asking me which ERP do I want to account my invoices in. And I will say Tally. And click on Next. It's asking me, where are your invoices located? I will say that my invoices are located in a folder which I have just quickly put here for reference. Let's copy this and put it here. Let's select the folder and let's see the kind of invoices we have here. Just have a look. We have something like this, something like this, something like this, something like this. Just selecting a few. These invoices different in formats, scanned, right? Click on Next and I will click on Start Processing. Now, while it is processing, let me run you through some of the steps of AI Accountant. First, my first prototype of this was, I tried to extract the data from PDF-based invoices. The data got extracted, I was really happy. That was my first bit of code written. Once that was done, once I extracted the data, I copy-pasted manually and put it in ChatGPT. And it gave me a table, I was really happy. But then, there had to be a better way. Then I learned about APIs, Application Programming Interface. In Application Programming Interface, we tell ChatGPT or any other API, that is OpenAI API, DeepSeek API, Gemini API, to come to Python, take the data, and come back with the output. So I called in the APIs, I called in the AI. The extracted data was then enhanced by AI using the API keys. Once my data came in, I wanted it in Excel. I used the pandas library available in Python to go ahead and convert that into a good Excel format. Once the Excel format was ready, it was time for integrating that Excel into the ERP. For example, you can have it integrated in Tally, SAP, etc., etc., etc. Now I had to create an interface, and that was done. But this was not the vision of the accountant I met in Goa. His vision was any invoice gets accounted. Currently, I was working with beautiful PDFs, good PDFs, very nice, no OCR needed. So I had to work on optical character recognition so that we can work with scanned images. That was a real deal here. For that purpose, we had to use a library in Python called as Tesseract, but that was not enough for sure. We had to train a model that is finance specific, and that I call as enhanced OCR. It can take in data from anywhere, any scanned financials like you saw in my example. Let's go back to the tool and let's see how it's performed. It's taking a little more while to get it done, but I think it's okay. The internet connection is probably a factor here, but it is calling in the APIs. In my normal testing scenario, on an average, the first invoice takes up 40 seconds. Second invoice onwards, it is 15 seconds with a decent Wi-Fi connection. Right? And of course, 15 to 20 seconds depending on the complexity, right? Now this is extracted. Now, is there a case that the OCR might fail a little bit? Yes, it is 70%. For that purpose, I gave the option for the user to click OK, and automatically an Excel opens up. In this Excel, you will be able to check whether the data extracted is right or not. This is the data extracted from those invoices which I uploaded. Let's have a look at the data extracted. The data frame was set. The data output had to be in a correct format, in a same format every time. We set the data frame, this is the answers we get. And if we are comfortable with the data extracted, or if you want to change a few things, we are okay with that. Once this is done, I will go back to here and I will click on upload. And once I click on upload, my tally opens up, right? Once my tally opens up, first it wants to post the ledger. First it wants to post the ledger. Second, it wants to post the stock items which are not available inside, or the ledgers which are not available inside. And once the stock items are posted, that's when the vouchers, that is, your entire entry, will be imported into Tally. Let's have a look. Once this is done, these are your entries. My tool is perfect. No. Absolutely not. Can it ever become perfect? I don't know. Because according to me, there is always a better way. According to me, research can never stop. And according to me, the AI accountant is just getting started. The another aspect which I want to touch upon a little bit is security. Is this secure? Which API key are you calling Anmol? I had to test this, so I had to find a simple, easy solution which was cost effective. So I took the invoices from Google, of course, secure. I went ahead and used DeepSeek API. Very, very cost effective. This was done by DeepSeek API. But do you think that is secure? The answer is a clear no. Can we use OpenAI API? Absolutely. There is an inbuilt feature which lets you select which API key you want to use. OpenAI's API provides you SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. Is that secure enough? If yes, you can use it. If not, we'll have to train an LLM model locally in your server. Train it with RAG, refine it, make your own API. And that's how we can deal with the security in the future. Let me go ahead and make my closing remarks. Today's time is such that we don't have to wait for a developer. We don't have to wait for somebody to understand our vision. We just have to imagine it and prompt it and get it done. Thank you so much. That is my time.
Anmol, you talked about security. So question
Right.
is, you are using DeepSeek. How secure is DeepSeek?
DeepSeek, that's why I said, is not secure. I used it here because it's cost effective and the invoices are not confidential.
Okay.
But when you talk about API, you have OpenAI API providing SOC 2 Type 2. Plus, if that is not enough for you, you'll have to go with your own LLM models, trained, refined as per what you want.
Fine, fine.
Anmol, the presentation was excellent. You mentioned about Tesseract
Right.
for OCR extraction, but then you also said there is an enhanced OCR. And can we know more about that?
There was a small LLM model which I created locally, SLM, right? Small
Yeah.
LLM model. Now, how this works is, your Tesseract OCR is working in the backend, great,
Yes.
right? But a finance-specific OCR, let's say if income is written, right? sometimes only INC would be identified by the tesseract. That INC will be converted into income because it's finance specific. So that's how I had gone ahead.
Maybe know the name of the SLM?
That was created by me using Python itself, by training it using
Using
a
a document
plethora of
library.
invoices.
Okay, so,
So
you
I-
used a library of invoices and that's how you trained.
That's
Okay,
right.
great. Personal remark, it seemed more of a hackathon than just a research paper.
Okay?
Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
So, first of all, very nice presentation. One quick question, that how do you take care of the validation control? Say, for instance, if I'm dealing with two companies and I scan the invoice of A into the folder of B, how does this validation control takes care?
The Excel which popped up, that has all the details, that has the sender details and the receiver details.
Right.
If the receiver details does not match with the company name, it will not allow it to post. It will show an error and it will put it in the exceptions in the tally import.
So, during the import of tally, but can we not have done this before at the time of creation of this Excel template?
We can do it. See, again, the objective of this is extracting the data from the invoices.
Correct.
Right? At that time, you put a control in tally. Irrespective, this is a prototype.
Right.
And this has immense, I can tell you 35 to 37 things which I have listed down which I need to improve in this over the next
Great.
probably 3 months. It's not a product, it's something which I've researched and created.
Hey, very nice. Absolutely agree. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Check. Check. Okay. Sir? Okay.
So, very good evening, everyone. I am probably the black sheep out, not the CA out here. So, so my dress also resembles today the same. So, you have seen already in the last 2 days the real power of Gen AI, right? And I have seen it in the last 10 plus years working in the field of AI. Now, what I have seen over here is that AI itself is becoming powerful, but then with great power comes greater responsibility. And that's where I have delved, being in the government, I have delved most of my time working on responsible AI. And that's what has been my research paper, how you can bring in responsible AI in financial oversight. Okay, so we have followed a 6-step research process, and as you can see over here, right? So first is gap and boundary analysis. We emerged deeper into the prior research work. We identify what is a legal purview. We dive deeper, build a framework, which is called RAV4 and PBD, which I'm going to talk later. We evolved the methodology with regulatory parameterization, and finally 2 solutions. One, complete private deployment, good for mid to large organizations, and Cloak, which can be used by individuals and small businesses. So with this, I'm going to talk about a little more on the context of it, right? So we all understand, I think this is not new to us, that digitization had led to digital transformation. And digital transformation has become the key reason why a lot of the companies have dived into using AI, right? And if you see a lot of the AI use cases in financial oversight, like my previous speaker actually have spoken about automated bookkeeping, there is fraud detection, audit process automation, tax process, and financial planning. So I think you have heard about it the day out. But I'm going to talk about the other chapter to it, which is essentially what is Gen AI. So we have spoken about large language models. People have gone deeper into large language models, but these are essentially black box models, right? So what happens in a black box model essentially is that you don't know how these large language models have been pre-trained, right? How it is behaving, how it will behave, and how you can mitigate hallucination. Even RAG also fails, right? So with this, I don't want to scare you, but I want to bring you to the point that there has to be some framework, and that framework is what we're going to talk about. We have to have fairness, transparency, accountability, and then we also have to bring in human oversight in the process, but then how to bring it technically. That's what would be what we are going to do and learn next, right? So let's talk about the primarily the about the evolution of the regulations, right? So India, we have the DPDP. we have similar regulations, evolving regulations across. So it started with GDPR and the AI Act in Europe, which is probably the most strongest, stringent AI Act. In US, you don't have a federal act, but you have state-wise acts. And like this, right, if you come to basically Brazil, South Africa, UAE, you have different regulations which are guiding them. Now, you cannot essentially run away from the regulations. You have to abide by the regulations. So how do you go ahead and do it? And that's where REFPO comes into picture. So it's a detailed research, but I'm going to quickly cover it for the time that we have. Okay, so responsible AI principles for financial operations, REFPO includes these three big pillars: fairness, transparency, and accountability. Now, what we have done over here is that we have essentially taken first the framework in place, right? So we have essentially understood what are the limitations of each of these AI frameworks and how can we bring in more and more transparency, fairness, and accountability. So if you see for fairness, we have brought in a matrix which is called the DI, or the disparate impact. So it essentially ensures that in your database, no group is, your outcomes are not biased against any group, right? That's what it takes care of. Similarly, you have transparency. In transparency, we have brought in two kinds of methodology, which is called SHAP and LIMELY. One is for model explanations, which is called LIME, and the other is to essentially understand which attribute has contributed to the outcome of the outcome which the model is given. Finally, we have basically delved into accountability, and it is a complete set of steps which you can follow. It's more qualitative in nature. So we'll go quickly into the DPDP framework a bit, because that's what is going to impact most of the people who are practicing for India. So you have broadly two stakeholders, the fiduciary and primarily the principal. The principal is one who shares the data, whose data you are working with as an organization or as an individual. And fiduciary is the individual or the organization who is responsible for, who has been given the responsibility of the data, and it is the individual or the organization's responsibility to manage, maintain, and use the data for the purpose which it is taken. So here are the four broad, basically, blocks. I think you can read through it, but there is a detail out here. So the first one is consent and purpose limitation. You should use the data for what purpose it is taken. For example, if you have taken the data for statutory audit, don't use it for model building. It is against the consent given. What we have done over here is that we have built a framework. You can see below that we have built mathematically plugged in. So whenever you are basically using it for a particular purpose and it gets used for another purpose, it gets flagged. The next thing is data retention and minimization. Here, essentially, again, if you have a customer whose data essentially, whose KYC data is essentially with you, but the customer has left you, then you cannot use it for some other purpose, like digital marketing purpose, personalization purpose. This is a breach. So essentially here, what we have again done is that we have added a time function to each of this data to ensure that we are able to understand till when the data is kept. The next is privacy preservation techniques. This is essentially where we have factored in specific ways to ensure that the private individual data is not leaked. And finally, this is a governance. This is a process which your organization need to follow to get aligned with DPDP. Okay, a lot of talk I have done. Let me show you something. Right, we have built Cloak 1.0. So you can see over here in this, right, there's a lot of personal information. And day in and day out, we give a lot of personal information to ChatGPT, Claude, and primarily Grok or Gemini. So what I have done over here is I'm going to show you a video, which is on the next slide. And I hope you'll be able to relate with it. So now, using our tool, when you use ChatGPT, which is ChatGPT out here, as you type it, all your personal data, which is by mistake sent to ChatGPT, will all be blocked, right? Without you putting in any effort. You just have to build and plug in the tool. So you can see it over here. This is in ChatGPT. I will, as you can see, the email is now getting masked. Similarly, you are seeing the phone number, so that will also get masked. Okay? So here it is. Now it is in Claude. The same thing in Claude. In the basically the time that we have, I'll basically fascinate. But let's say if you want to join the community, right? That is the code which you need to scan. And you can join the community, just fill up a form, and we'll send you the tool to basically see it, experience it, and use it. It's a very small form. Okay, so you have seen now it is working in Claude. We'll go ahead. Okay. Okay, so now we are in a little more complex solution. Okay. Here we have company data. And what I'm doing here is that I've taken a lot of company data. In that, there is very critical information like GST, PAN. We have individual information like of the founders. We have basically the CEO's phone number, email ID. We have when the person is born. We have the financial data. We have the funding data. We have valuation data, right? But the key thing here is that the question which I'm asking, with the above limited information, please suggest if it is a good to invest in this company. So logically, AI should understand what to mask and what not to mask. So here it will mask all the PII and SPDI, but it will keep the financial information available to you. So available to the ChatGPT, so that it can take that information and ensure that it's able to give you the right outcome. We'll see this demo. Okay, now I'm copying it. I'm basically going to paste it into ChatGPT. And you'll see as soon as I pasted it, all the information which is PII, SPDI is all masked out. And now I'm sending it to ChatGPT. So the key essence here is that it's actually telling what was there in that place, but it is not actually sharing that information, as you can see over here, right? So the financial data is still intact. Funding data is still intact. Okay, this is the question. So now we'll shoot it to ChatGPT. Okay, now it has come up with some plan, with a limited plan that it has. Okay, so you can see over here that it has given, with that limited information, what inside it could give, right? So it has given those, and it has actually given also the other kind of due diligence that you need to do. But the key point that I wanted to make over here is that using this tool, now we have essentially secured all the PII, SPDI, and none of the data is leaked. So if there is a session hack of your ChatGPT, Gemini, app hack of your Claude, Anthropic, your data is still safe. You are not breaching anything, right? So that's a tool that can be used by individuals, right? I have ran out of time, so quickly, last probably information that I wanted to share over here. So if you see over here, right, this is a implementation that we did, complete private implementation that we did for one of the organizations, and we have been able to bring those anomalies back to very limited numbers. Consent purpose anomaly, accountability anomaly, transparency gap, data retention, and privacy preservation. Okay, so I think that's the slide I wanted to show. Summarization, I hope I was able to give you the key points, right? So how you need to ensure your PII and SPDI is saved, and you are using the AI and your customers' data in a very responsible way. Okay, so these were the research references. Thank you so much. And you can scan this code to ensure that you are a part of the community.
That's a great presentation, Shubhradeep ji. So you mentioned about the Cloak community, Cloak 1.1, and can you please put the QR code once again? Because of the light effects, I believe members were not able to scan that.
Yeah, we just need to move to the other slide. Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, secondly, I believe it's a kind of homomorphic encryption. So what is the trade-off, sir? Like the accuracy versus cost? Because as you intended for a mid-sized firm to use an online LLM and use this tool to safeguard the data. So the accuracy versus cost and the trade-off and scalability. And the present tech, are we, what about the readiness of the present tech?
Yes, I think this is an excellent question. I believe this, whatever I answer might not be the complete answer, But this question is a great question which all of you should tag yourself in. So, so when you see about larger organizations, right, if you have the capability muscle and the tech power, we suggest that you can go ahead with private deployments, right? So private deployments are great following the architecture that you have, if you want to build in place, right? So what we have seen over here is that if you are taking SLMs, building vertical SLMs on top of it, that's a great way how you can leverage and deploy it in-house. With Olama and other aspects coming in, you can actually even don't need GPUs as well to deploy them, right? So this brings to the fact that yes, this can be deployed, it can be used, it can essentially safeguard all your data. One other aspect probably where I would like to double click is that feature-wise, right? If you see feature-wise, the proprietary LLMs are moving way faster, right? So how do you balance it out? But the question that we all need to ask, do we need all those features today? If at all it is no, or maybe, then it is a great solution to go ahead with. Thank you.
Thank you, Shupradeep. And first of all, I would like to welcome you to our community of chartered accountants. You mentioned about retention, which was a very good point, about the guardrails, purpose. But even you mentioned biases, that the tool is able to manage biases. If you can throw some more light how it is mitigating biases, or how is it managing biases?
Thank you, sir. I think very valid question. So, sir, the biases, if you see, so if you are working with all the global LLMs, right, it is very hard to mitigate biases. Because what it has been trained, the pre-trained LLMs, what we have essentially, right, we don't know what data has gone into it. All that we can do there is that we can use a matrix like DI to tell whether there is a bias for the specific segment that you are trying to basically build a solution for. In case it is having bias, then the fallback is to use basically an SLM or basically a TLM, or essentially take one of the open source LLMs and fine tune it to essentially overcome the bias which it already has due to pre-trained data.
So I may be wrong in asking the question, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So with respect to biases, you spoke that these LLMs have been trained on a large set of data, and probably your solution may have more country-specific or a region-specific stuff. Is it so?
Absolutely, sir. That's definitely one part of the ingredient. But then, sir, what happens? I'll not specifically name the institution,
no
or basically the other aspects which are confidential. But what we have seen here is that, and I have written a paper on that, which is on lending fairness. So what happens in lending is that there are specific segments which are specific caste, religion-driven, who are basically blocked out of loans, right? So how can we use that to identify those biases as well?
So even you are able to identify the biases, right?
Correct, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
जिंदगी एक सफर है, हर मोड़ कुछ सिखाता है, समय कभी रुकता नहीं, बस आगे बढ़ता जाता है. Namaskar, honorable jury members and fellow architects of India's financial future and the online audience. My name is C. Ashutosh Shahi, and I stand here not just as a chartered accountant, but as someone who is deeply passionate about transforming our profession using cutting-edge tools. समय किसी का इंतजार नहीं करता, and neither does the technological changing time. Let me paint you a picture that will change the way you see CA practice forever. It's 11:47 p.m. on a regular night, and your phone buzzes. Text from your biggest client that, sir, partnership से LLP जाना है, सब कुछ चाहिए, tax compliance, documentation, each and everything. In that moment, neither the client waits nor the deadlines. Now let's look what would happen with a traditional approach. A restless night surrounded by piles of bare acts, calls to senior colleagues for guidance, and endless hours of research on Google and tax forums, and silent prayers that nothing critical is missed, and the morning with a sense of anxiety and a half-baked presentation. Now let's cut to next-gen CA practice. You would be shocked, but here what would happen. It would take 3 minutes to get the complete legal analysis done, 5 minutes to comply all the case laws with precedents, and 2 minutes to compile everything and get the checklist generated using Gamma AI. And what traditionally took 8 hours can now happen in just 10 minutes. And the morning, far more good sleep, more confidence, and far more clarity. परिवर्तन ही संसार का नियम है. Let me take you on a lightning journey through 4 decades of evolution. The first we have pre-2000s era, the manual era. My friends, Mahatma Gandhi rightly penned, to lose patience is to lose battle. But the physical ledgers, manual calculations, and long queues tested patience at every step. The next game was the digital dawn of 2000s. With e-tax returns, Tally, QuickBooks softwares, they transformed us from manual processors to technology-enabled professionals. Following this came a revolution of regulations, from Companies Act to GST. We were transformed again from compliance processors to strategic business advisors. And the current we live in is the AI era, the era of AI, cloud-based ERP, AI automation. My friends, we live in an era where instant compliance is a thing. What a marvelous journey to look back. 4 decades, 4 revolutions. Now you may ask, why do we need automation? My friends, starting a business in today's era is nothing but a compliance explosion. From GST to Companies Act and countless other. It is very difficult to stay compliant. The next is the data being voluminous. Huge data sets are being generated by modern businesses, which make manual tracking inefficient and error prone. Following this, what once was Eid ka chance check, my friends, the clients want to make their compliance and ERP a real-time check. And this can only be achieved by automation. The elephant of compliance weighs very heavy on the small businesses. We talk about automation as future, but our present traditional practices are still based on past ineffective crises. Let's look at some of the crises. We have the time wastage crisis. Almost 40% of staff time is lost to the repetitive task. 45 minutes it takes to draft a simple document as simple as engagement letter. 2 days to get back to a client with general queries, and 5 days to just prepare for audit. Following this is the knowledge bottleneck crisis. Junior CAs are often paralyzed without senior guidance. Myself being a junior CA, मेरे को भी पापा को ही कॉल करना पड़ता है, सर इसका क्या होगा आगे? Which leaves clients frustrated. And the cherry on the top is the accuracy crisis. Manual handling of data leads frequent errors go unnoticed, and अगर कोई unnoticed चला गया, there's a bigger risk of penalties. जो समय की रफ्तार नहीं पकड़ते वो पीछे छूट जाते हैं. My friends, the answer to all the inefficiencies is nothing but embracing large language models in our own practice. What is LLM? LLM is nothing but which can process, understand, and generate human language. They are machine learning modules trained on vast amount of data sets to predict and generate language. They can complete a sentence, write you an essay, they can even write you an appeal if given a prompt nicely. Built with billions or even trillions parameters, these models learn patterns through self-supervised learning. Huge words, right? How I explain LLM to my father is, Papa socho, ek CA ultimate team member hai, who never sleeps, never takes any leaves, is available 24/7, can update on real time, and is available on 24/7. There are many LLMs out there which can superpower our CA practice. Three which I would like to discuss are, the first and foremost is generative pre-trained transformer, or usually called as GPT. We, in a CA practice, goes through a lot of huge financial data, huge reports, which needs to be, deep analysis to extract their core essence. Summarizing these documents have never been easy, all thanks to GPTs. Yes, our mother body ICAI has its own GPT, CA GPT. We all been using it, I guess. The next we have is Excel. No, not just very basic Excel, but think of Excel being AI powered. I'm talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot Excel GPT plugin. Imagine just asking not random, but data related questions to your own Excel. I need a column with percentage of a specific data. I don't know how to add a column, I'm sorry. I'll just go and ask a Copilot. I need a customized formatting. I don't know how to do it. I'll just go and ask the Copilot. And lastly, imagine having your own chatbot for your own office. Sir, इसका ITC मिलेगा कि नहीं? Sir, इसका ये expense मैं ले लूं P&L में या नहीं? We as CAs face a plethora of queries in our daily traditional practice. And how about we can call to our rescue a chatbot, which is trained on retrieval augmented generation, a big word again, which uses standards of procedure, firm-specific SOPs. It can be tax acts, circulars, or notifications to retrieve the answer of a client and deliver a very consistent stream of answer. With just implementation of these 3 AI tools, human errors can be cut down to a great extent. Let's look at some numbers. A 66% drop can be seen in drafting time resolution from 45 minutes to just 15 minutes. 90% faster query resolutions and 40% audit preparation can be saved from 5 days, what it usually used to take, to just 3 days. And with all the time saved, you can add 23% more value-added work to your own practice. My dear colleagues, हर सिक्के के 2 पहलू होते हैं, एक समझा जाता है और दूसरा दिखता है. Now let's understand some of the challenges faced by implementing LLMs in a CA practice. The first is the hallucination. The risk of false and misleading data output from AI is critical in compliance work. The next, we should also make sure the legal restrictions of using AI-generated output in regulated professions like ours. Further, human oversight is also important, maintaining a professional judgment and supervision of AI outputs. And lastly, data privacy. Not just last, but one of the challenges, right? We need to make sure that the data held by us of client is confidential, which is confidential, is made sure कि वो confidential ही रहे with data protection. My respected juries, we are standing at a crossroads of having a traditional practice or an AI-driven practice. If we dig further, what all options do we have? Option 1, to be a struggler. Ignore this evolution and watch the competition surge ahead. Option 2, of being the follower. Follow this trend when it becomes a mainstream and lose the first mover advantage. Option 3, to be the pioneer. Lead the revolution and become the chartered accountant every client wants. And before I sign off, I would like to say, राहें वही बनाते हैं जो भीड़ से अलग चलते हैं. That's all from my side. Thank you for your kind attention, Pune. Yes, sir.
Ashutosh ji?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You summed up the facts about embracing LLM, the pros and the cons.
Yes, sir.
So you rightfully mentioned hallucination, bias, risk will be there. But we would like to know your research on how do we mitigate them, your way of how to mitigate them.
So basically, time was very cut short, so I had to wrap it up. I can basically, thanks for addressing the question. I wanted to discuss in my presentation, but again, time was cut short. Yes, hallucination is a very big risk. It cannot be ignored. LLMs may say false data ana, misleading data ana, it's a very big risk. I guess today there was a faculty named Abhinav sir. He rightly addressed कि सर hallucination तभी होता है जब training में कुछ रह जाता है. That's how you lead.
Sorry to cut you, sir.
Sure, sure.
We are talking of LLM in your research paper.
Yes, sir.
So LLM का training हमारे हाथ में नहीं होता है.
Exactly. That was coming
Yeah,
through.
please.
Yeah, sir. Sure.
Yeah, please.
So LLMs में अगर training cut short हो जाएगा, that's how hallucination comes. Hallucinations can be cut, मतलब it can be curbed by proper human oversight, sir. Another thing is maintaining proper human oversight तो होना ही चाहिए for every output generated. Another is having a follow-up steps. कि AI generated ने ये output दिया है, it is an AI generated output. It should go via proper steps from validation so that professional judgments remain paramount. Another, lastly, sir, I would like to say, LLM is a tool, right? LLM is a tool, and अगर हमने professional judgment नहीं रखा, it would be CAs only who will be hanged.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I believe that will be the overall, that is how I believe every member is using the LLM so far. And then how do we scale it? Like, is there any technique that you would like to show?
Sure, not
Where-
technique, but I
Yeah.
know the phases which I have mentioned in my research.
Okay.
Phases how we can implement LLM in our daily life, in our daily CA practice. So, being LLM hallucination another big risk. So first, the first step should be using GPT. Not straight away for finding your case laws, just as it happened with the Bangalore case. But drafting a very basic document. Let's say you start embracing LLM by drafting an email for me. There are certain practice जहाँ पे नहीं use हो रहा है. You started with drafting email and then you plug your GPT in your Excel. And then you work it in your Excel. That's why I mentioned Copilot in the second step. And the third would be depending on the AI for general queries. जहाँ से standard of procedures से आप ले सकते हो, tax of Bear Act से ले सकते हो, circular से ले सकते हो, deploying your own custom trained chatbots.
Okay, thank you. That's all from my side.
So hi, Ashutosh.
Hi, sir.
So one hallucination, you mentioned oversight, then evaluation, and then again oversight to my understanding. So what I think sir was asking was what measures have you implemented or how do you wish to address anyways? So in continuation to this, if you can quickly answer that, how do you take care of the privacy window? Because, as we implement things, personal data might be uploaded, and once it is uploaded, it is exposed to web. So any measures, because I understand that you have actually very aptly covered the entire problem statement of what all of us face. And for those who have done L1, it could be a recap of the entire program. And for those who have not, it's a good pitch to please address that session. But anyways, having said so, how is that being taken care in? Just quick 1 or 2 lines. If you
Sure,
can.
sir. 2 things. Firstly, since there is no legal restriction as of right now,
For
using AI-driven output, right?
legal restrictions of using AI-driven output in?
In our profession,
Okay.
as such नहीं है.
Okay.
So we need to make sure Information Technology Act का भी हम surpass करें.
Okay.
Another is DPDP,
Right.
We need to make sure of that also. Another is Code of Ethics, sir.
Okay.
We need to make sure कि due diligence भी हो, right?
नहीं, but,
I'm coming back
okay.
to the answer, right? And secondly, sir, data privacy is a big issue, right? Masking the data is one of the things which I would say
Right.
you can do before you upload to the LLM.
Right.
Another way to curb that inefficiency or data privacy wala, to address that inefficiency is using the place personal place clouds. मतलब storage आपके पास ही हो, personal LLMs. Hallucinations का I would also like to address कि we can train our own LLMs using RAG, as Anmol already said. And data privacy ka, sir, masking would be one of the ways, and another would be using your own storage devices.
Great, thank you. So masking, yeah, the reason why I was asking, because even people hearing, you have actually mentioned very correctly that at least whenever you are using sensitive data, please ensure that it is being masked. And thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I request CA Sachin Miniyar, Chairman of Pune branch, to present a vote of thanks.
I would also request Umesh Sharma sir to join with me. Thank you. Friends, good evening. Just 2 more minutes. I know all of you are